Hello. Oh, just reminded me, I'm on TweetDeck and I should be on something else. That doesn't matter. Sorry for those of you that joined yesterday or tried to join yesterday and there were some technology issues. I don't know what happened. My laptop was just flipping out. It did not like anything that was happening. I tried reboots, I tried changing things. It was just all over the place. So let's see if we can get it today. So here we have a ASP.NET 4.5, 4.6, 4.7 .NET Framework app that we started to upgrade to .NET 5. The application actually sits in production on a shared hosting site that I have a subscription to that, when this is done, might actually move it to Azure and a couple other places. It has nothing to do with the hosting provider, just because it's kind of the theme and what I've been doing. So when I started breaking this out, there were some unit tests and integration tests that I created to kind of validate that everything was working. So this EventMeetups data.test has simple tests that confirm that I can actually go to the database. In this case, this is an actual truly mocked test. This commented code here was just so I can copy and paste and kind of get the syntax right. I started going through and mocking all this on our stream last Tuesday. But then started looking at the code and realized it really didn't make sense. But before I go into that, let's cover these other tests. So this test is created to make sure that the mapping profile works. So this makes sure I have everything mapped out between our data classes, which are listed in this SQL under models, and the actual domain models, which is what the API uses and the web app will use eventually. And if you followed this stream at all or any of the YouTube videos, primary reason for this is so that we can change the backend database at any time, and our model that the API uses or user interface doesn't get all cluttered or dirtied up with the details of how we implemented the backend. So there's one quick test for that, and then there's a data integration test, and this really just makes sure that we got all the dependency injection, service registry working, and then one call to the database to make sure we're able to get that. And I did that for a couple of reasons. One is to prove all the different settings and configuration was right. So in theory, copy and paste this to the API. Two, to make sure I had all that working, because it's a lot harder to troubleshoot when it's in the API. So this allows us to just run the test. If I make any changes, add any new classes or anything, I can just run this, and this test should work. So this one won't change. This one won't change. We might keep these open just to go back and forth. I started talking about these tests. Now I was going through and creating mocks for all of them. We got to as far as the get conferences mock and had it return, a list of conferences. And then I was thinking about it, or talking out loud about it, looking at the actual repository, which I believe is the conference manager. Right now, all the conference manager, all the methods are just getters to get me stuff. There's really not anything outside of this one save that does anything with the data. So here, for example, get conferences, which I believe is this method, we go and in turn just call this constant repository get conferences method here. So you see there's really nothing to test or validate. I mean, in theory, I can check to make sure the mapper is working, but I already have a test that validates the mapping, so why bother doing that? And then started going through it and looking at these, and I could add tests around this. Let's get rid of that extra thing to say if the short name is here, make sure returning just the main events for that short domain. If not, return them all. But I'm like, that's really just testing EF, so it might not make sense for me to validate that or test it out or mock it. So I kind of got away from mocking all these. The ones I might mock, though, is the save conference and save meetup, only because as you see, this is not implemented, but we'll probably do some validation around here, like making sure conference is not null, making sure certain parameters are null, and it won't be done here. This will just probably take the conference and save it. It'll most likely be here where we'll adding all that validation. And here, apparently, we need to actually implement the real saving. Now, if I look, I got to make sure Docker started. I think it started. It was slow to start before. Yep, SQL Server's up and running. I'm going to kind of make this look more like the previous project we did. The contacts. If you notice, I follow a lot of the same patterns, and you will too. Once you find patterns that you like, that make sense, you'll go through and implement them. And where are you? Context. I don't remember if I did it here or the manager. Yeah, I did here. Actually, in this data one, I believe there should be a repository. Should have just probably opened up this whole solution. Where's my save? Oh. Data store. Went a little crazy with that one. Where are you? I thought that was. Didn't I open that already? Oh, there it is. Forgot I renamed the file name was wrong. In this one. So in here, there should be a save. Yeah, so I kind of want to do this. And this is just essentially save, update. Now let's copy out both of these. I probably do want to make it asynchronous, but none of these are asynchronous because when I actually started this conversion, I really didn't do a lot of async work. So I'm going to go comment, add these, and then just comment them for a minute. Control key C. Let's go back to those interfaces. Repository. Let's copy and paste each of these lines. So I'm going to just do Control D. Control D, Control D, and Control D. And this is going to be async, going to be async. This is going to be async, and this is going to be async. Now, this one should return a task event. I believe that's how you're supposed to do it. And this one will be a task of meetup. This one I will fix the spelling error. Stop it. Async and task of meetup. And task of meetup again. So we're gonna, you'll notice that we'll start to get reds over here. That's because I need to update them all accordingly. Control D, Control D, Control D. You're probably saying, Joe, why don't you copy and paste them and make it a little bit easier? That's because I like to keep the synchronous and async methods together in the same section so I can make sure the signatures are alike and everything. You might be saying to yourself also, why are you offering synchronous and asynchronous? That's because I don't know who the consumer is and whether or not they understand it or not. So I will provide both. And then behind the scenes, the async will just call the synchronous one. Or sorry, the non-synchronous one will call the async method behind the scenes. So I'm not really duplicating the effort. A couple of extra lines of code here or there, but it makes it easier for the consumers of the class. That's all good. My conference manager, same thing, Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D. Task, and I don't know why I keep doing the less than first. Get rid of you. Yeah. And then call you async. And I apologize if this is a little boring, but again, this is a refactor. We're going to kind of refactor it, make it prettier and nicer and more quote unquote modern. So some of it's a little tedious, and we'll use the tools whenever we can to do it, but right now there's really nothing for this. At least nothing that I know of. Not in there. Just do it once. Get it over with. I probably should have waited for this. But what are you gonna do? Duplicate this. Control D. Control D. Control D. Control D. Type in async. Control C. E. Control D. Control D. And then make this a task. Yes. Task. you're watching and wondering what that pop-up is, it's telling me that task wasn't recognized because I needed to insert system.threading. So writer/resharper allows you to just do that with an alt enter. If you're using Visual Studio, it's control period. So now that our interfaces are done, these are just configuration and really more models, so I don't have to worry about that. Same thing with that one. Now we have to go and do these. So this is going to complain because we don't have everything there. So I can do one of two things. I can do Alt Enter and then have it implement. Problem is it's going to just implement them all directly below, which I don't like because it doesn't follow the sync async meetup. So I'm just going to kind of go through here and copy and paste the 4 out, only because this actually is going to change anyways. This really should be a task list meetup. Yes, I want to add that. And then this becomes oh wait. So this is my own method, so I have to create that one. I don't know if I can do this method asynchronous or not, so let us go and see. I'm just going to copy and paste this one because it's going to require some work. This method does is essentially includes all the include statements that I'm going to launch, essentially adds in all the parent objects. See if the then include has it. No, can I do async as always sync? I don't know what that does. Contain single. I guess I can do the all or queryable async. Dictionary. I don't know if I actually need to do that asynchronous because this is really just building out the query parameters. This toList is actually what's doing it. So I should be able to just do this dot all async. Or is there a toList async? Yeah, there's a toList async. Perfect. Now, what are we complaining about here? So I gotta make this asynchronous. And then what are you complaining about? Alt enter, use, yes. Hey. Return type to test. Why are you complaining? Oh, it's this, I bet. Mapper class. but do I map? I don't know. Photo Mapper supports asynchronous. I don't want to update you right now, Ryder. Let's see. Auto Mapper map async. Mm-hmm. Don't want to do that. Data. Huh. I actually like this. Let's see if that. Jimmy wrote the library, so you should know about it. Auto convert. Let's see if we can do that. Let's come back here. Well, I probably don't need to do these comparisons. Let's go back to one screen. Close all the others. Let's move you to opposite group. And let's just close those other tabs. So what was that? Project to. Yeah, maybe not that. Oh, I bet you I know what it is. Problem is, I got rid of the differences between this. It's confused. It doesn't know which one's a data model, which one's a SQL model. Let's just get rid of those for now. This should be SQL model. Yeah, not that one. This should be EventMeetups, data, SQL dot. Come on. Dot models. I had this problem before. That's why I kind of explicitly called out which ones were which. Because now this gets confused. Throughout here. I don't want this. This is the meetup repository, so it should return a list of domain models. That's kind of why I did not clean it. It should be domain dot models dot meetup. It should take a domain dot models dot meetup. this should return a list of SQL, takes the events, and this should be a domain.models meetup. Domain.models.meetup. And then lastly, domain.models.meetup. Okay, now let's fix the other stuff. And you're complaining because I'm missing domain.interfaces. Oh, I was complaining because I'm missing methods to implement. Okay, so let's get back here and see why you're complaining. So this mapper.map should return a list. Do I put this? Do I write this as a task? This seems like a lot of extra work. Let's see. Back to our videotape. Remember, does provide a way to build custom type converters. However, the API in sync, and it seems unlikely that async support will come to this. And the API's work in sync and async code paths is not trivial and requires async code paths for simple math. Either way, there is a good way to do this, but doesn't seem to enter async mapper. This library sits on top of AutoMapper that aims to basically provide async functions of a type converter using first looks at it. Let's see what it looks like. Sure, worker. Yeah, probably not. Your example. Ooh, that was a screen update. And this so far is covered. Oh, it's a long article. Exactly the same character class. Okay. Okay. It's probably just boring sitting here watching me read. Sort of all. Yeah. Oh boy. So doesn't look like he actually solved the problem I'm having right now with it. That's more just getting AutoMapper to work. If this does it. Maybe I'm using an old version of it. Actually, when I started this, I really didn't know AutoMapper, and I was just starting to figure it out. Object to custom projections, conversions. Guide or nothing. Mm-hmm. Basic methods. So you need to pass the result of tasks, which would be the object of complete. Return the result of map. You do differently, but that's not what I. Yeah, if we look, that's slightly different. Boo. So this events here should be an event task. I don't like that. That's not clear. That's not clear. How did I solve it in the other repo? Like I'm doing this new. Map array save. Mapper.list. Doing anything different. This should all work right here. Get context. Let's see what this looks like. What do we think they're the same code? Var events equals await to async. Task list. It's the same. Complaining. Why are you complaining? Use return type, change signature. Oh, do I have the signature wrong? Ah, I could have just made a temporary boo-boo. An EventMeetups repository. Task list models. Task list models. They're fine. Let's see what I change it to and see what that does. Let's do change signature. If interface is EventMeetup. Didn't change anything. This one does say model, excuse me, to be consistent. Get meetups async. Calls get meetups async. And oh, that's why I forgot to rename this method. Dummy. Silly Joe. Get meetups. Doing the same time, and I didn't even bother changing the name of the method. Silly. Should be get meetups async. Now it'll work. Man, that was my bad. So long to do that. So then, ideally, I want to create a public list of domain.models.meetup. I'll get meetups. Takes in no parameters. And here I can just do a simple return get meetups async dot result. It's cheating, but it just says the asynchronous call for us. So I don't have to reduplicate the code here. And then kind of do the same thing for all these. So this is the async. This is async task. And then to list async to await that or there await. I can do public list of domain.models.meetup. This is return get models meetup conferences async conference dot result. And last but not least, let's do this one. So this is task. Async await you. First or default async. And I am not sure what am I missing. Async. This. Get rid of view. Get rid of view. Return. What method? Get meetup async. Meetup. Meetup ID. Done. Result. Get meetup async. Done. This because that will be very clear in the model, and you're still complaining because I am missing the setup. Let's fix you. Main.models. I know this is repetitive, but as you might have seen before when you're doing the conversion SQL versus not, the model names get confusing. So I like to have the full model name in there. So here, I'm going to keep that one and just create a public async task type int save meetup async go, and this is going to just return save meetup async meetup result. That was rough. It was rough. 20 minutes of just hitting asynchronous methods in there that I probably won't use, but it's a good habit to get into, at least until more and more people are understand and support asynchronous. Let's get rid of view. What are you complaining about? Interface. What am I missing? This one? What did I? Are they the same? Oh, this is not async, Joe. And yeah, that's optional now. What's the difference between these? Save meetup async, meetup. I don't know what's different. And that one I'm fine with keeping. Get rid of this one. At some point in the code, we can easily just do that. But for now, while we're building it, let's keep it the same. Okie dokie. Now, what are you complaining about? Complaining about this one. No, I want to keep the equal models. Okie dokie. That was rough. Now we can do the same thing for our conference models. Hopefully without so much drama in there. That's fine. Copy paste you to keep the name there. This should just return get conferences async result. Change you to async task conference. Conferences sync. Get a creable. Let's do a wait to list. Oh, let's do this. Just copy out this part here. Paste here. Here. Async. I'll come back to that one in a second. As you can tell, I'm tired of typing async task. Public and public async task int save conference async. I can throw an exception. Cool. So let's make this awaitable. So await here. You list async, and then the line is off. So it's only offline because wait. You list async. Await first async. And that was quick because then I have a lot of methods around that one. So let's do public list of conference. Get conference by domain. Ooh, where'd it go? Already filled it in for me. Turn. Get conferences by main async, domain name, comma, short name, dot. Get conference async. Public conference, get conference, return, get conference async, conference ID dot result. Now we should be all good. What is that qualifier? SQL, it's fine. All the blue is gone except for you guys. Why are you guys still here? Oh, I gotta do the repositories. It's 7:30. Let's finish those up. I think we'll just call it. Public task meetup. Enter, get me that. Get meetups async. And then this should just return underscore meetup dot get meetup async. Meetup ID. Here I want to make this asynchronous and then throw the await. What are you complaining about? This should have been get meetups. What did I call it? I totally created the wrong method. Okay. That's messy. Let's go here. Create yours. Public async task list meetup. Get meetups by conference async return. You might be wondering, Joe, in the other one you did resolve blah blah blah. And yes, I did. The reason why I'm not doing it here is because the repository already has that in it. I mean, I can do it here, but at least this kind of shows, what you're doing. The repository layer, most people should see. They're going to look at the data layer, so to speak. Let's get here, but I can do them either way. Yes, meetup, get meetup async, return, score meetup repository, meetup async, meetup ID, and click async task int. Okay, meetup async, return, score meetup dot meetup async meetup, and we should have no more. One more, and then we are good to go. Let's do this. Public async task enter list conference, get conferences async, return underscore conference repository that is async. Public async task of list conference, get conference by domain async. I wish it filled in the rest of them. That'd be awesome. But it did most of the work for me. I have to type a couple of beginning pieces and it knows the rest. Public. Huh. Guess it is getting smarter. It heard me. Return underscore conference repository dot get conference async conference. Now it's going to complain and I can just do alt enter. Oh, and actually I don't even have to type async because it's already async. And now the final save. Public return conference dot save. Yeah, well, that's done. And what are you complaining about? The connection strings. Oh, I wonder if I'm not using that anymore. I don't think I'm using that anymore. I can probably get rid of that. Especially since it's not being declared anywhere. Can get rid of view. Control Shift B, make sure it builds. Everything is building. I have a EventMeetup context. As name is deprecated. Says has database. Line EF. I will do that for you. Good thing is we built unit tests around all this stuff, so I can validate everything. Control Shift B. That one I can get rid of because we are not using the exception. Care about it. One more Control Shift P. Bill succeeded, no warnings. Cool. Just run my test. Where's my test? Run them all. They all should pass except for these data tests, which I know we have a bunch of, all of them fail except for one. That's where we actually started this call at. They should all fail except for this one in this last test. Oh, they all passed. Oh, they all passed. Oh, because I didn't add the other ones in there yet. Fine. Cool. So that all worked fine and dandy. At our test cases, tomorrow we can add, or Thursday, we can add more mock tests around here if we choose to. I think we'll probably just focus on the save methods, implement those, and then start working on the API. That's all I got. Have any questions, feel free to reach out on social media on the screen below, or shoot me an email, jagwadagno@hotmail.com. Thanks for watching.